Hello and welcome to the Boxing Insider, where this week we'll be asking, is it time for the boxing world to take Jake Paul seriously? Well, by now everybody is well aware of him, but what do we actually know about Jake Paul? Here's talkSPORT's US editor, Alex McCarthy.
He's in the headlines every week, James. It's just this kind of cult phenomenon in the sports world, and I know that sounds like a real, superlative to levy his way. But the thing with Jake Paul is that he's used this amazing following that he's garnered on social media. That was kind of a precedent that was set by his brother Logan to begin with. I think Logan's got 23 million subscribers on YouTube. Jake has 20 million. Parlay that into TikTok and Twitter and Instagram, like you add it all up and we're talking, towards 40 million, I think, maybe even 50. And he's used all of that to kind of make his own dreams come true. And he's got this following and he knows how to monetize it. He's become a master of marketing, whether people want to accept that or not. And he's able to make that into the fight game. So at its core, I guess he's social media marketing extraordinaire, but this is a bloke as well who is well built, 6'1", 6'2" guy who has acquired some boxing skills over the past few years that have taken him from resident joke in many eyes that people can't wait to see knocked out to somebody who they have to actually take seriously and say, hang on a minute, he's undefeated, he's been knocking guys out, he's looking to take bigger challenges. Slowly but surely, James, there's an element of kind of, if not respect, intrigue developing.
Jake Paul was supposed to be fighting Tommy Fury on the 18th of December in what was set to be his toughest test to date. However, Tommy has since had to pull out of the fight due to a bacterial chest infection and a broken rib. I've spoken exclusively to Jake Paul and I got his reaction.
Man, I was upset. A lot of stuff had been said and I wanted to knock him out. I wanted to make him bleed and eat the canvas. That's the most satisfying part, is when your opponent has a lot to say and you just knock them out and embarrass them in front of the whole world. So I'm a little bit that I'm not able to do that. The kid's scared. The kid cracked under pressure. The whole fight buildup got to him. And now he fumbled the biggest opportunity of his life, fumbled the biggest payday of his life. And he's going to have to return all the Christmas presents that he got Molly, because now he has no way of paying for them.
What was your thinking? Because you could have looked at rearranging the fight for next year, but you've decided to take on another fighter in Tyron Woodley next week. What was going through your mind when you were weighing up those decisions?
I'll fight anybody, anywhere, anytime. And I mean it when I say it. And this event, the fans wanted this. The fans paid for tickets. The fans were hoping to see me fight by the end of the year. And not only that, all the people on the undercard, all the fighters who were counting on this fight for the holidays, for the paychecks, whatever it is, I couldn't let them down. I couldn't let the fans down. And the show must go on. This is business, and these types of things happen in boxing. And I just told my team, I'll fight anybody, whoever it is. Tyron Woodley was down. He had been training for a fight in January, and he has balls for getting in there and stepping in. And it's going to be exciting, just as exciting. It's almost a more exciting fight than Tommy Fury, just because Tyron's harder. Tyron's more experienced. He wants to get that knockout. I'm giving him an extra $500,000 if he can knock me out. So this is going to be another crazy show. December 18th, the show goes on.
And what happens with Tommy Fury now? Are you willing to give him a shot next year, or as far as you're concerned, is the door now closed on that?
Man, for me, the door is closing. He's not reliable. He didn't show up to the first press conference. He's faking these injuries or whatever they are, and it's upsetting, So if he's doing that now, then what's stopping him from doing it next year? For me, in a cynical way, I sort of just want to leave him in the dust and never give him this opportunity again.
Jake Paul has won all 4 of his first professional bouts, all against men making their debuts. So does he actually have any real boxing talent or ability? Here's talkSPORT's Adam Catterall.
It's hard to judge him as a fighter at the moment because he's fought another YouTuber, he's fought a basketballer, he's fought, I say, a former UFC star. Ben Askren was never really a UFC star, but he was a mixed martial artist, an extremely well-rounded wrestler who, with all due respect, mate, I reckon I could give him a good go with a hand. You know, I don't think he can knock his way out of a wet paper bag. But then you've got Tyron Woodley, and we've got to respect the Tyron Woodley thing, because even though Tyron Woodley comes through as a respected wrestler, former UFC champion, decent pedigree there, he does have hands, and he has been famed in the past for knocking some people out. There were rumours off the back of that fight that there were things in the contract that he's not allowed to get knocked out and all this type of stuff, all these conspiracy theories. I personally don't look too much in as of yet as to what he's been doing inside the ring.
So Adam is reserving judgment, but let's get the views of a proper fighter. Here's the undisputed super lightweight world champion, Josh Taylor.
I don't think he's great. I don't think he's great, but I haven't seen, I've not watched any of his fights, so I don't know, but the things that I have seen, you know, from his Instagrams and his social medias and stuff, he's put in a lot of work, and he's actually been he's a lot more dedicated than a lot of fighters out there, a lot of real fighters out there, well, so-called real fighters. He's a lot more dedicated than these guys, and he's brought in the top trainers, he's brought in conditioning, he's brought in nutritionists, he's done all the right things to improve himself, and it looks like he's improved quite a lot. You know, he actually looks a little bit like a fighter now. He's actually moving around the ring okay, and doing things pretty well, you know, and I actually think that he probably could have beaten Tommy Fury in that fight if it happened, you know, and I think it wouldn't have been a big upset, but you know, Tommy Fury should have won that fight. He was putting a hell of a lot of pressure on himself with the things he was saying, but you know, he's obviously pulled out with injury, but that would have been quite an interesting fight actually, but one that I think probably Jake Paul could have won.
So can we truly judge him until we see him in the ring against a proper boxer? Well, I put that question to top trainer Ben Davison.
The reality is this: people don't like this, but the truth of it is, how many fights does a professional protege with an amateur pedigree have before they fight someone that comes to win? He's fighting guys that are coming to win. He's probably doing, you know, having tougher fights than what some of these guys do when they first turn pro. So, but yeah, to see where he's really at, you know, we have to wait to see him fight a pure boxer. But I suppose it depends on what level that boxer is for us to find out where he's at.
So the jury is certainly out when it comes to Jake Paul's boxing ability, but how about his impact on the sport? He's certainly a figure who divides boxing. There's some fans who are simply not having him. But what does the man himself think?
It's beyond good for boxing. It's great for boxing. It's phenomenal for boxing. It's one of the best things that's happened to boxing in the past couple of decades. You know, what I'm doing is bringing a completely different audience, a younger audience into this sport, growing the boxing fan base, growing the amount of kids who are wanting to sign up to become boxers. I'm advocating for fighter pay, putting fighters on my undercard that then go and get signed and have, you know, big contracts after that. I'm helping out women's boxing with everything I'm doing with Amanda Serrano and increasing their pay on a massive level and giving fighters a massive spotlight with a completely different audience. And this is just the start. You know, I've done all of those things in less than a year and a half. So, you know, who knows what else I can accomplish, and I will continue to make this sport better and better and better.
Light heavyweight world contender Anthony Yarde gave us his considered take.
Initially, I was saying to myself, you know, it's good. Any attention brought to boxing is good. And then Gervonta Davis in his interview said it's a disrespect to boxing. You know, he's been boxing since he was 6 years old. You know, there's a lot of professional athletes that give their life to boxing, and you know, we're prize fighters, and you know, our goal is to, just like the Floyd Mayweather, Mike Tyson's, is to go and make a lot of money so we can feed our families. But we go the hard route. You know, we have tough fights, we have tough sparring, we go out there, we build ourselves up gradually. And then you got people that just come in and say, you know what, let's have a professional fight. It shouldn't be labelled as a professional fight, it should be labelled as an exhibition or something else, because it's disrespectful to us professionals that anybody can just come in off the street and say, oh, we're going to have a fight for millions of dollars or millions of pounds. There's no person in this world that can just walking off the street or from a park and say, I'm going to play in the NBA. Or I'm going to play in the Premiership. So when he used that analogy, I'm one of them people, you know, if I say something and someone says something that makes more sense, I'll be like, you're right. I'll have no ego when it comes to what makes sense in my brain. And that was factual. You know, you can't walk off the street and go and play in the NBA. And boxing is the most dangerous sport in the world. So why should someone be able to come in and have a big professional fight? I know it's to do with money. If anyone should be getting paid the millions, it should be the ex-legendary fighters, you know, fighting each other as an exhibition, earning millions of pounds. Not someone that's got no experience or that's done a couple hours of training. I say that they want to go and fight in a professional ring.
Well, how about we give the last word to talkSPORT's Adam Catterall?
He's made a huge impact when it comes to eyeballs. He's brought a new demographic to come in to watch the fights that he's had. The hardcore fans are always going to look and say, well, it's not real. It's not proper fighting. He's not fighting anybody as of yet. But it's still boxing. Okay, it's not boxing as we know it. It is still some form of boxing. And he's using the vehicle of boxing. We should be quite flattered, actually. He's using the vehicle of boxing in order to fulfill the things that he wishes to fulfill. He's making an awful lot of money. People fighting on his undercard are getting paid quite well. There's opportunities there, as we've seen in the past. I don't think it's a bad thing. A lot of people automatically think it's a bad thing what the YouTubers coming into the sport. I actually think what it's done is that it's opened the minds up of a lot of people in the game, sharpened them up a little bit, and it's also brought in a new demographic. And we need to obviously bring in younger fight fans, whether they turn to the sport of boxing or whether they just become regular people that come to watch the game. I'm all for it, mate, because it keeps me and you in a job if more people are watching it. Simple as.
So, is it time for the boxing world to take Jake Paul seriously? Well, I think it's a real shame this fight against Tommy Fury isn't happening on the 18th of December. I think it would have been a great acid test. Until we see him in the ring against a proper boxer, I think we need to reserve judgment when it comes to his boxing ability. However, fair play to him. He takes on this rematch with Tyron Woodley at short notice. It means the event still goes ahead, and it means everybody gets paid in time for Christmas. I think it's much easier, though, to judge his impact on boxing. And I, for one, think it's been a positive impact. When you just look at fighters on his undercard, they gain more exposure, they're paid even more. There's more people watching boxing because of Jake Paul. And for that reason, it can only be a good thing. However, I do respect the fact that there are some who will never respect Jake Paul when it comes to boxing. Don't forget to check out our interviews in full, including our exclusive with Jake Paul. And leave a comment below and let us know what you think. Do you take him seriously when it comes to boxing? And make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our boxing content across the talkSPORT network.